Hello, everyone, and welcome. On behalf of the team at APAC OUC, a very warm welcome. I hope you are enjoying this virtual seminar. My name is Gavin Soorma, and in this session, we're going to look at a topic called Zero Downtime Autonomous Database Cloud Migration using a tool called MV2ADB. So we have that autonomous database in the OCI, Oracle OCI Cloud, that comprises of the autonomous ADB and autonomous ADW. And in this session, we're going to look at how we're going to use a combination of Oracle GoldenGate that is located in the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, so it's in the cloud, and another tool called MV2ADB, which is moved to ADB, that enables us to perform a very efficient, quick, near zero downtime migration to the Oracle OCI ATP or ADW framework with very minimal downtime. So in my earlier session on the 23rd of October, we talked about the MV2ADB tool in a lot of detail, the various options that are being used in that tool that enables us to very easily migrate to autonomous database from either OCI Classic, the Gen 1 offering, or as well as on-premise to the OCI Cloud. So if you have a look at the recording for that session, which is available right now, you can look at all the various topics that were discussed. We looked at MV2ADB in a lot of detail and also all about the different options that you can use the tool with. So if you were to look at a zero downtime migration methodology using Oracle GoldenGate, typically it happens like this. We create and start the extract on the source, and then we take data pump export. And while the export is going on, or while the export is being copied from the source to the target, obviously our production database is still receiving transactions. So there are a lot of transactions still happening, but what's happening in the background is that Oracle GoldenGate is capturing them to its proprietary trail files. So at this point in time, the trail files are being copied to the target side, but are not yet being applied. That's very important. So we create the Replicat process on the target, but don't start it up as yet. Then we complete the import using data pump. So at this point in time, we have our database on the source and target consistent to the point is when the export was kicked off. But obviously some transactions have taken place on the source after the export. We then start the Replicat process on the target, which will go and apply all the delta transactions. And once that is done, we have a source and target that is synchronized, and it's up to us then when we actually will point our users or our client applications to now the new target database. So in terms of zero downtime, I don't think I would say zero. You see a lot of the Oracle white papers and notes refers to the term zero, but I would turn that to say minimal downtime. So the downtime is not based on the size of the database you're migrating or other factors, but it's typically dependent on how fast we can do this repointing of our clients or users to the new database. So what is Oracle Cloud Marketplace? It is basically like an online store, and it has a number of different applications that are available there, a number of different services. And one of those applications that's available in the Oracle Cloud Marketplace is the cloud-based version of GoldenGate. So that's called Oracle GoldenGate on Oracle Cloud Marketplace. So when we actually avail of the service through OCI, we get access to a compute node as well as the latest Oracle GoldenGate software, 19C, as well as Oracle client software. And it comes with different versions of the client software from 11G, 12C, 18, and 19 pre-installed. GoldenGate on Cloud Marketplace is also available in two offerings. We can go for the classic architecture or the new microservices architecture, depending on what our requirement is. So GoldenGate Cloud Marketplace provides us a method of moving data not only from on-premise to the cloud, but also between the cloud as well. So it's on-premise to cloud, as well as cloud-to-cloud platform real-time data replication tool. So this is a screenshot of Oracle Cloud Marketplace, and you can see the various GoldenGate offerings that are available there. and you can actually select what kind of offering you want, whether you want to go for microservices or if you want to go for the classic option as well. So GoldenGate Cloud Marketplace enables us to move data from various sources. So the source doesn't have to be Oracle. It could be MySQL on-premise, and you want to move data to Oracle OCI ATP, or you want to move it to ADW, or you can also move it to Exadata Cloud Services or any of the other OCI offerings. So the key out here is that it enables us to replicate data real time from a wide variety of database sources, both on-premise as well as from cloud to cloud. So this is a screenshot of basically the compute node where Oracle GoldenGate Cloud Marketplace has been configured. So we can actually see a directory U01 app OGG, and it has different directories under that: Oracle 11, Oracle 12, 18, 19, and it also has all the GoldenGate executables that we would normally see in the Oracle GoldenGate software home. So you can see at the bottom like extract and ggsci is there as well. So this is actually a microservices architecture. So we can see the service manager also showing up there, the admin server, the admin client. So all this is available on the compute node for the GoldenGate Cloud Marketplace. So MV2ADB is the tool that's developed by Oracle. It's available for download for My Oracle support. It basically fully automates the process of moving data from on-premise to the cloud. Also, in this case, we are going to show you an example of moving from OCI Gen 1 or Classic to Autonomous Cloud. So data migration and loading to an autonomous database now can be performed with a single command. So you can use the MV2ADB just with the auto command. I'll show you that in a few slides. So what that does internally, it performs a data pump export and then moves the dump files to the object store in the cloud. And from here, import is performed into the target. So MV2ADB internally will invoke EXPDP. So first what happens, we take an export to a file system that's located on, say, the source database server. So let's say in this example, it's on-premise. Then that export dump file is moved to the object store. Once the dump file is in the object store, it automatically will run the IMPDP to copy the dump file to the target. So export data from the database on-premise to on-premise storage, export the dump files from on-premise storage to the OCA object store, and then import the data into the Oracle Autonomous Database. So what we have also here is Oracle GoldenGate Cloud. That's basically accessing both the source as well as the target. So the immerse node where we can actually go and download MV2ADB, and this node is updated quite frequently with some new features and stuff. You can see the document IDs shown here in the slide, as well as all the different options available in this node. It's very comprehensive. It tells you all the options, the flags for each of the operations. So these are called operations like auto, EXPDP, IMPDP. These are all MV2ADB operations. So move to ADB. So like I mentioned in the earlier session, if you can visit the recording, you can get more information about all these different options. But to just summarize it in one single command, which is auto internally will invoke the EXPDP, put dump, and IMPDP operations. So take the export from the source database, put the dump file in the OCI object storage, and then also do the import into the target autonomous database. So we configure the source database first for GoldenGate. So if you have used GoldenGate in the past, these commands must be pretty familiar. So you just enable supplemental logging on the source. There's a parameter you have to set called enable GoldenGate replication, set that to true. We'll be using something called integrated extracts on the source. So we have to allocate an area of memory called the streams pool size, and we create a common user because this source is a container database. So we create a user for GoldenGate. So that's the common user shown here. And we grant the common user some privileges required for GoldenGate as well. So that's pretty much all we have to do on the source. So in this case, guys, the source is the an OCI Classic database that we are actually moving to the OCI ATP, OCI Cloud with ATP. So we also have to copy the autonomous database credential wallet. So we can actually go and download the credential wallet from the OCI console. And then on the compute node, we are setting up the wallet. So that will enable connection to the target database. So like I said, the compute node where GoldenGate is running, that's the GoldenGate Cloud Marketplace server, will actually interact with both the source as well as the target databases. So to connect to the target ATP database, it needs to have the wallet. So we get the wallet from the OCI console for the autonomous database and basically just copy and unzip it on the GoldenGate OCI compute node. So this wallet would also have the TNS names files. So that's how the compute node OCI GoldenGate Marketplace compute node would be able to connect to the target ATP database. So the Cloud Marketplace GoldenGate compute node also has different versions of the Oracle client available as well. So you can see Oracle 11, 12, 18, and 19. In this case, our source is Oracle 18. So I will just go into the 18 directory and edit the TNS names file. So this would have my connection to the source database, which is Oracle 18. And then I go and create what's called a credential store in GoldenGate. So with the credential store, we don't have to basically specify the password in the parameter file. It will basically use the credentials from the credential store. So I specify a credential to connect to my source. So this is the same user we created as shown earlier. The common user c#OGGadmin. And my database, the container database name is ORCL. So you can connect the common user to the container. So that was the credential store to enable connections to the source for GoldenGate. And then I go and create my integrated extract. So very important, I need to ensure that my extract is running before I start the export. Okay, so start the integrated extract before you configure the export. So when is the export being run? From MV2ADB. So before we run the MV2ADB auto command, make sure the GoldenGate extract is up and running and capturing changes. So these are standard commands for GoldenGate to create integrated extract. And then I register the extract with the container, which is PDB1 in this case. So my CDB is ORCL, and the container database has a pluggable database called PDB1. I also have to enable what's called supplemental logging. So that's additional logging for GoldenGate. And I can do it for the entire schema, or I can do it for a table. So in this case, I'm setting it up for a particular schema called test_mig, and it's in the PDB1 pluggable database. So this prepare CSN will enable interaction and integration between Oracle GoldenGate and Oracle Data Pump Export. So now I start the integrated extract, and you can see out here the extract is running, and it should be capturing changes from the source database, which is PDB1. So if you notice here, the connection is as a common user, c#OGGadmin to the root. So now that my source has been configured, my extract is happily capturing the changes. I also now have to ensure that GoldenGate is able to communicate with my target. So on the target ATP database, I will connect as the admin user. In this case, my database name is payments_high. So you can see out here on the OCI compute node, that's the GoldenGate Cloud Marketplace node. I will set my Oracle home. I will set my DNS admin. So I'm using the client now, Oracle 19. So to connect to my source, I use the client folder Oracle 18, but my target database is Oracle 19. So I export my DNS admin variable, and now I'm able to connect as the admin user to my target ADB database. Once I'm connected to my target ADB database, I will go and create the GoldenGate user called ggadmin there. So any name you can use, and then I will just unlock the account and grant a quota to the user. So this is my configuration for GoldenGate on the target. So let me also explain, because some people have asked this, can I use my ATP database as a source for GoldenGate? No, not as yet. So I can only use my ATP as a target. I cannot replicate data in turn from this ATP database to maybe the ADW database. So the autonomous database cannot be used as a source for GoldenGate, but only as a target. So now I'm going to configure my GoldenGate environment to be able to connect to my target ATP database. So I just have to create the credential store now. In this case, the credential store will have the credentials of the user I created just now in the autonomous database. So my user was ggadmin. My database was payment_hi. And after that user has been created, I will also go and create what's called a checkpoint table that is used by GoldenGate. So the checkpoint table is being created in my target database. Once my credential store has been configured to enable connectivity from GoldenGate to the target, I can now go and create the Replicat. Very important. I would like to emphasize that we're just creating the Replicat here, but not starting it up. So also, we don't have the option as yet to create what are called integrated replicats and parallel replicats in the ATP target environment. So we have to create what's called the classic replicat. I'm not sure if in future versions it'll support integrated replicats. So that's why we had to go and create the checkpoint table, because if we were using integrated replicat, then typically the checkpoint table is not required, as Oracle maintains all this information inside the database. So I specify the replicat name, and you can see on the OCI GoldenGate Cloud Marketplace, it has a specific directory structure. You can see user2 deployments, and there's a directory called dir.dat under that, where I'm going to create my trail files. So the Replicat is pretty much standard. I'm just mapping all my source tables that belong to the test MIG schema in the PDB1 database, and they are going to the target database on ATP in the same schema. If you want, you could also have different schema names, and you could also do mapping for different table names as well. Next, what I need to do, so now I have the extract running, right, on the source. I've configured GoldenGate connectivity from the Cloud Marketplace compute node to be able to connect to both my source as well as my target. Now I'm going to download the MV2ADB tool, and like I mentioned, we can download it from the My Oracle support node, which I mentioned earlier. Download the tool, and it's also available as a RPM if you like, but in this case, I've downloaded the tar of the file, the gzip version, and then once you untar the file, you'll see the directory structure. So there'll be a top-level directory called MV2ADB with a particular version, and under that you'll have conf, and you'll also have the executable MV2ADB available. So under the conf directory, you'll find a template configuration file that you can use as a basis for creating your own configuration file. I also have to install what's called the Oracle Instant Client. So this is required for the MV2ADB tool. So this is only in those cases if my versions are less than 18.3, because what actually is required is certain parameters for IMPDP, which are not available in earlier versions. So the parameters like credential, for example, is not available in IMPDB versions prior to 18.3. So in that case, we have to go and use what's called the OCI instant client. It comes with 3 different files. One is basic, one is SQL Plus, and one is tools. And you can see out here, I unzip all those 3 files. So you can see executables like EXPDB, IMPDB, SQL Loader, SQL Plus, for example. So all of these are getting extracted into my GoldenGate compute node for Cloud Marketplace. And this will be used by my MV2ADB tool. But actually, if my version was more than 18.3, then I could have basically used all the executables out of the existing Oracle Home. I would not have to actually install this instant client. So let's have a look at a move to ADB configuration file. So I've taken the template configuration file and modified it. So let's have a look at some of the sections. So we just have to specify first the parameters related to my source database, the passwords of the system user. So it will connect a system to the source to do the export. And I can specify where the dump files are going to get located. So this could be the on-premise server, or in this case, it's the OCI Classic compute node. And IC home stands for my instant client. So you can see I'm using instant client version 18.5. As part of the configuration file, I also have to put in some information about my target, my autonomous database parameters, like the name of my database, the password. So this is the password of the admin user. So we encrypt all these passwords, the actual passwords, with the MV2ADB tool called ENC pass, and that generates an encrypted password, and then we are storing that encrypted password in the configuration file as opposed to the actual password. I also have to provide location of my object store. So the name of the bucket, for example, the name of the OCI tenant user that has privileges on the bucket. So this is where my export dump file will get copied from either on source, or in this case, my source from on premise, or if the source is OCI Gen 1 Classic, then it's going to get copied from here to the object store in OCI. Now, finally, what I need to do is to actually go and execute the MV2ADB command. Very important, before this, we have to ensure that my GoldenGate extract is running on the Cloud Marketplace GoldenGate compute node, and it is also extracting changes. So start the extract and then run MV2ADB. So you can see out here, I'm using the option auto, and I'm just specifying the input as the configuration file, where I have included all the required parameters. So if you follow the log file that's being generated, you can see that the various stages that the auto command is actually going through. The first one actually is doing the export. So you can see out here, it also internally will get us the Flashback SCN. And this is the SCN number that we're going to use in our Replicat when we start the Replicat process. That means apply only changes using this SCN number. All changes after this SCN number would need to be applied then on the target database after the import has been completed. So EXPDB is being run automatically via the MV2ADB auto command, and we can also see it is performing another operation after export is completed, which is called put dump. And this put dump command is moving the dump files to the bucket in my OCI object store. After the export dump files have been copied to the object store, it also performs the final step, which is doing the import. And you can see out here the IMPDB. If you look at the top line, it's launching IMPDB from the instant client home because of a few parameters that are not available in earlier versions of IMPDB. For example, we can see now the dump file name can actually, we can specify the location of the object store as the dump file. So what dump file should I use? Use the dump file that's currently stored in my object store in the bucket that's mentioned out there. So we have a concept of namespace, which in this case is COEX services 01, followed by the bucket name, which in this case is migration data. And then finally, we have the actual dump file name. So we can see the import is now happening into my ADB database. We can see at the bottom, it is connecting as the admin user to do the import to the payments_hi. It's using the TNS connection string payments_hi, and it is doing the import into the target ATP database. So all this now is happening while my source database, my users are still connected to the source, and changes are being actually generated on my source database. So my users right now are still accessing, for example, on-premise database source, but now I am importing data into my ATP target. Once the import has been completed, the MV2ADB tool auto command completes, go to the log, verify everything is fine, and then I can go and start the Replicat now on the target with the command start Replicat after SCN, and the SCN number is basically what was generated by the Flashback SCN. You can see out here. So what I'm doing is any changes before this would be contained in my export. Changes that happen after this, while the export is running, while the export is being copied to the object store, while the import is happening, all those changes have accumulated now in GoldenGate trail files. So those trail files have been are being copied from the source to the target, but until we start the Replicat process on the target, those trail files will not be applied. So once the import has completed, once the MV2ADB auto command has completed, we can now go and start the Replicat via this command. And we can see now here, the Replicat would be applying all the dental changes. And basically, we keep running the send rep1 status command until the current status shows at EOF. That means all the changes that were there in the trail file have been applied on the target. So the Replicat process has completed processing all the trail files, and now my source and target are in sync. And we can do this maybe well in advance of our actual migration. If my migration is supposed to happen, let's say at Sunday at 6 a.m. in the morning, we can start it maybe during the week and just ensure that my source and target are being kept in sync. So I run it for maybe 2 or 3 days before my actual live migration and keep monitoring, ensuring that my source and target are being kept in sync. GoldenGate Replicat is not returning any errors. And then finally, when the migration time comes, all I have to do then, this is where my outreach starts. This is where I will point my users now. I will maybe shut down my source and point my users to the target database, which in this case is my ATP database. Okay, so how long that takes is how long your outage is for the migration from on-premise to the cloud. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the session. It was a bit quick, but if you like, I can share some more detailed notes of an actual migration that I have done using this method. I moved from OCI Gen 1 for one of my clients to OCI Gen 2, and using the MV2ADB command, it made the move very, very easy, very efficient, and it was done with minimal downtime. Thanks for attending. Hope you are enjoying the conference, and any feedback or comments, please email me at prosolutions@gavinsoorma.com, and be safe and goodbye for now.